I'm Andrew, and I'm setting out to make better videos for diesel enthusiasts. Follow along as I review products, do how-tos, and share my personal trucks here on Just Diesels. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Today, we're going to be doing a headlight comparison review. I have the best of the best headlight for 3rd gen Rams, and we're going to be pitting them all head to head. Now, this is part of a larger series of videos, so I have individual standalone reviews of each headlight, as well as a full roundup video. So if you're watching one of these videos, please feel free to check out the other ones that will have detailed information on all of the headlights. Also, if you're looking to purchase these headlights, please support CJC Off-Road. They made this video possible, so if you're looking to buy these headlights, head over to their website. I'll have links down below to all the headlights included in these video series. In this video, we're going to be doing the full comparison. So that means we're going to look at all 3 different headlights and seeing how they stack up in a bunch of key different categories. First, we're going to be talking about overall features of the light. What makes this light special? What makes it different? Second, we're going to be talking about fit, finish, and installation. How the lights go in, how they fit in the truck, and what it's like installing these. Third, I'm going to be talking about overall performance of the light. How does this light actually stack up in the real world? And finally, we're gonna be doing a full cumulative of how these different lights stack up in all the different categories and crowning a complete winner. And conspicuously missing from this is the Alpha Rex Pro Series headlights. Pro Series headlights rely on a standard halogen bulb, just like the factory lights. So you're basically getting the look without the performance. And by the time you upgrade LED bulbs, you can't close the back of the headlight to seal it from water. And more importantly, you've basically spent enough money to buy the Luxx Series headlights. So I really don't see any purpose for the Pro Series headlights. So I left those out of here because if you're considering those, just go with the Luxx. By the time you're done buying LEDs, the Luxx will make a lot more sense with this built-in LED chip. So to start out, let's look at features on these lights and what makes them special. Now we're gonna be moving with the Luxx, Nova, and then Morimoto as I go through these. So I'm gonna keep the same order as we go through in case you wanna skip around through the different chapters of this video. So to start out with, let's talk about the interesting features of the Luxx headlight. Luxx is going to be in a complete category of its own. And that's actually why I like this light so much. In terms of price point, there is nothing on the market from any brand that basically compares to the Luxx headlight for these trucks. For the mid $700 range, you're getting a full built-in LED chip. You're getting awesome functionality with cool switchback turn signals, clear running lights. I mean, you're getting a very, very cool light, and you're also getting fantastic output. Now this light features a single projector for low beam and a single projector for high beam, making for a dual projector setup that makes it look like a completely OEM light. And that's what I love about these, is they don't actually look that crazy in aftermarket. If they didn't have a black housing, you probably wouldn't even know that they were aftermarket. And I think they did a really good job of kind of tying everything together and making them a cool looking light. Now in terms of features, these will have the Alpha Rex signature startup feature. Now depending on how you wire these, this startup sequence will either happen when you turn on the truck or when you activate the lights. But what's gonna happen is that the LED accent light, the white light, will light up across, sweep back and forth, and that'll be your activation sequence on the headlight. These also have what's called sequential turn signals. So when you activate the turn signal, the lower strip switches back to amber, and it again will be sequential. So it will sweep across the light in the direction of travel. In terms of wiring and fit, these lights will basically fit just like an OEM light. I was very impressed with the fit and finish on these lights. In terms of wiring hookups, these will wire just like a factory headlight, except they're gonna have a bunch of extra plugs. Now, for the 06 trucks, these will be direct plug and play into the factory harness, including the running lights. If you have a later truck, 08 and up, basically with a 3rd gen, you don't have that amber running strip factor in the bottom, so you don't have a power source for that. So what Alpha Rex recommends is that you do what's called a fuse tap. They provide a harness that comes with these lights that you can tap into the fuse box. If you don't feel like doing that, I don't see any reason why you can't basically use posi taps or make your own weather pack connector and basically splice into the factory turn signal harness. The one caveat to that is that Alpha Rex has these white LEDs set up to basically be a DRL. So if you power them directly from the fuse box, they will actually be brighter than if you power them directly from the provided plug like I did on my 06, or if you wire them via a posi tap or something like that. Keep that in mind when you're watching this video. Just know that the white running lights, the LED accent lights on this light could be brighter if I had tapped them into the fuse box. I decided just to keep it simple since the 06 already has power to that running light on the bottom. I just plugged that straight into the bottom of the light and everything was totally plug and play. Next up, we're gonna be looking at the Nova series light from Alpha Rex. Now, this is basically gonna be just like the Luxx in terms of features. So it has the same switchbacks, same accent lights, all that stuff is completely identical. Fit was totally identical in the truck. And again, wiring is totally identical in the truck. The area where this light separates itself is in both the projector element in the lens, as well as the number of LED chips. So both of these lights have built-in LED chips that are gonna be providing the light output, but with the Nova series, you notice it is a quad projector. So that is 3 projectors running with a low beam, and that 4th projector is gonna be running with the high beam. Now the Nova series lights use the exact same LED chip that's in the Luxx, but because there's more of them and light is additive, you're gonna have more total light output from the Nova series light. And it's actually a considerable jump. We'll get into that later, but in terms of full light put output, this is definitely a good bit brighter than the Luxx. Not that the Luxx is bad, it's just a good bit brighter, but again, we'll get into that later. The other thing that's interesting to note is that the projector, this is their patented ice cube style projector. So it's gonna be a very cool looking projector, and the actual lens of that projector protrudes out from the light. Projectors are what make these lights happen. It's what gives that awesome crisp cutoff. It's really what gives you that throw down the road. And so this is a nicer projector. You are gonna get more distance vision out of this light, as well as having just more total light output because of the number of chips that are in this light. The third and final light is gonna be the Morimoto. Now Morimoto entered this with a very OEM style approach. You'll notice that these lights are modeled kind of after the 4th gen Rams, whereas Alpha Rex wanted to go for more of the 5th gen style. So Morimoto is gonna have a little bit more of the classic, I don't wanna say period correct, but it almost looks OEM look. In terms of fit and finish, this light fit absolutely perfect into the truck. You know, all the panel gaps were just right, exactly like Alpha Rex. I would say it's wholly on par with OEM. Now with Morimoto, you're gonna see a couple differences in terms of the features of this light. For one, the turn signal is gonna be powered by the factory bulb or a factory style bulb. So in my lights, I chose to use the factory incandescent turn signal bulb, which functions just like in the stock lights as a running light and as a turn signal. If you wanna do an LED switchback, that's totally fine. It will function just like that. Just make sure you get one that is CAN bus ready, so it works with the CAN bus system, doesn't trip any error lights, anything like that. At the bottom of the Morimoto light, you will see a running strip. That is not a switchback, it is just a solid white LED running light. It's a very clean, actually quite bright running light on the bottom, but it doesn't have any crazy functionality. You'll also see on the side of this light, there will be the amber reflector, again with a couple LEDs in there to meet dot regulations for being a side angle light. Full turn signal functionality comes from that front light that is going to be central in the headlight and again reused as an incandescent bulb or incandescent style bulb from the truck. There are no switchback features, there are no startup sequences on this light. This is basically just kind of a no frills, all about the light output light. And speaking of light output, this is where this light shines. It has a single projector and a single chip. And unfortunately, Alpha Rex doesn't have claimed light output, but Morimoto does, and they claim almost 3,000 lumens out of this light, which is absolutely insane out of a headlight. So we'll get into that later, but this headlight is basically just a big giant projector, super high quality chip, and it is all about light output. In terms of wiring on the Morimoto, it is gonna be just like a factory light. Now, one final note on fitment that I have to give is that all 3 of these lights do require that you remove the headlight housing from the truck in order to do the adjustment process. Now, all 3 will claim that you don't have to, but in reality, it's a lot easier to actually just remove the headlight from the truck than it is to adjust it from the back, have to pull the fender liners and all that stuff. With that said, Morimoto uses a very interesting pin on the headlight. So on the 3rd gen headlight in the back, there's a pin that has to pop into the fender. On the Morimotos, that has a right angle, like a 90-degree sharp edge to it, and it catches when you try and pull it out. So the first time I put these in and went to pull them out again to adjust them, I couldn't get them out of the truck because of that pin. So I actually had to take that pin, unthread it out of the back of the light, put it on the bench grinder and kind of round out and actually lessen the full diameter of that so I could easily pull the headlights in and out. So just enough resistance that it stayed in like normal, but not so much that it would get stuck. Alpha Rex, I did not have to do that too, but Morimoto, I did have to alter that pin to make it easier to pull the headlight in and out so I could do the adjustment process. The adjustment process is probably equally a pain on both LEDs, so I will just say that. It is one single adjustment screw to adjust them. So for the Alpha Rexes, even though they have multiple projectors, it's still one screw to make that headlight angle adjustment, but it does have to be removed from the truck to make it easier. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's get into the meat potatoes of this, which is actual performance of the light. Now I will say this was very difficult for me to film because I have one truck and I have to swap the lights back and forth. I was also doing this after my normal day job, so there are changing weather conditions and I apologize for that. I tried to film in the exact same situations and scenarios, but unfortunately Morimoto was subject to some heavy fog. Now, one thing I did do in this video was compare the Nova series and Morimoto directly head to head. I actually borrowed a friend's truck who had these lights on it already, parked his next to mine, and that gives you a really good sense of comparison between the two. So I did my absolute best, despite changing weather conditions and everything else, to try and get a very fair comparison between these lights. So with that in mind, let's start out with the Luxx Series headlights. Now, the Luxx Series headlights are the dimmest in this comparison. I will say though that they are not dim by any means. In terms of total light output, they absolutely blow the factory lights out of the water. And I would put them right on par with a nice quality set of new OEM lights. So if you went out and bought a brand new Ram truck, the light output would be very similar to what you're gonna get out of these Luxx Series headlights. And that's fantastic for like mid $700. In terms of light output, there's nothing on the market that can touch these Luxx Series headlights for the price, period. And so if you're looking for kind of the best value per dollar spent, hands down, the Luxx Series headlights are gonna be where it's at. You're basically spending half of what it would cost to get, a fancy new set of OEM lights for a fancy set of new OEM lights. So you have the awesome switchback feature, you have the awesome startup sequence, full LED running lights, a really clean overall look, fantastic light output for a very reasonable price. These headlights provide plenty of side lighting to illuminate, especially on dark, curvy roads like this. I never felt like I was blinded. And when I put the high beams on, I had some good, decent projection out of them. It really helped kind of illuminate kind of the farther distances and at a much higher angle than you would get out of these lights normally. Now I had these adjusted at a very legal, friendly height. Now if you want to be a little less friendly with some small cars, you can adjust these lights higher than I have adjusted in this video. You will get a little bit more distance projection, and more importantly, you get a little more height, especially in roads like this where there's lots of rises. You'll get better distance out of them, but I would say one area where these lights struggled was in distance projection. So overall brightness, not quite as good as the higher end options, but in terms of like distance projection and intensity, that's also where they fell a little bit short. And that's gonna be one, because the LED chips in this just aren't as bright as having 3 LED chips like you do in the Nova series headlights, or the single insanely bright LED chip in the Morimotos, but the projector quality in this one is not as nice. This one does not use Alpha Rex's patented Ice Cube projector, and so because of that, you'll get a little bit more softness in this light and not quite as much distance projection, not quite as much intensity out of this light. So still very, very acceptable. I would call it very good, but not great. Speaking of great, let's get into the two head-to-head competitors. So let's start out with the Nova series headlight. This headlight is very, very bright. This has 3 built-in LED chips, and then the 4th again acts as the high beam. So driving around on this windy, curvy road, you can see there's a lot of projection, and there's also a lot of fill light, and that's really where a multi-projector setup is going to excel. It's going to have a little bit more throw to the sides and kind of a little bit more dispersion in the light. So you're gonna have a little bit more light close to the truck, and it's just gonna overall kind of fill the scene a little bit better. This light did a fantastic job of that. Hopefully the drone footage shows that well. as does kind of driving down this curvy road, winding and stuff. But overall, I would say in terms of like total light output, this headlight was fantastic. I would put this right up on par with the custom set of headlights that I had built in my last truck, but with a little bit more kind of total scene fill. So again, that is where that tri-projector is going to really excel, because it is a little bit less focused than a single projector. When you have 3 projectors, they're going to overlap. So the cutoff line at the top is nicely, synced between the 3 of them, but there's going to be some overlap, a little bit more fill. That said, it isn't quite as intense as a single projector. So that is where the Morimoto comes into play. So let's take a look at the Morimoto. Now the Morimoto uses a single projector with a single LED chip. This is going to be incredibly focused light. Looking at this, you can see there's a very sharp rainbow cutoff on even the bottom of the projector, so right at the foreground of the truck. And then again, at the top of the projector, a very nice rainbow cutoff, just like you're gonna see on the Alpha Rex lights. I will say, these headlights have insane output for being a single projector headlight. I have no idea what Morimoto put in these things, but it feels like it is the laser beams of the sun. They are exceptionally bright, and because they are a single projector, they're also very focused. You will see a very sharp, razor sharp cutoff line at the top, very sharp razor edge cutoff lines on the bottom, incredible focus and intensity. You will also see really great projection out of this light. The distance vision from this headlight is phenomenal. I would say right on par with the highest end options possible in the aftermarket. And it's really cool that options like this are literally available as a plug and play choice. So with that out of the way, let's get the comparison head to head that you guys really want to see. Now in this video, I have the silver 3rd gen. That truck is going to be running the Morimoto headlights. Both these trucks are 06 trucks. They're actually both G56 trucks, which is kind of cool. My gray truck is going to be running the Alpha Rex Nova Series headlights. And I put both of these on a long flat road with a hard stop at the end of it. There's some foliage at the end, so you can really kind of have a good idea of what distance projection and distance intensity was like between these 2 headlights. It was so close that even in person, I had a hard time deciding. I truly can't decide which of these headlights is better and which one is brighter. It really comes down to your personal preference. Watch back and forth as we swap the headlights on and off between the 2 different models, and we go between high beams on and high beams off on both headlights. I think maybe if I got a Luxx meter out there, and went 100 yards out compared between the 2 lights, you'd probably have a hard answer, but even then, it is such a close race between these headlights. It really comes down to whether you like the look of the ultra focused single projector or the look of the slightly more filled in version of the tri-projector headlight. It really could be split. There's no right answer here. It just totally depends on what your eye likes to see. But I would say both these headlights offer just absolutely incredible output. I really thought that there was going to be kind of a bigger difference between these 2. I thought that, especially being tri-projector versus single projector, one would have clearly more light output than the other, or one would have a lot more distance throw than the other. But it is so close between these 2 headlights. I think that's pretty cool. So feel free to comment down below if you think one of these looks better than the other, but I have a very hard time picking between these 2 in terms of light output. I think both of them are so exceptionally good that it should come down to looks and overall features on these lights and kind of which one you prefer. So in terms of value, if you're someone that's looking for the most performance per dollar spent, I mentioned at the beginning of the video, but hands down, the Luxx Series Alpha Rex wins. There's nothing else in the market that can touch this thing for the price. It is fantastic light output. If you're tight on money and you want a good headlight, you want to be able to see in the dark, go with those. Don't even look at anything else. That's it. If you were going for the absolute best of the best, you're looking between the Nova series and the Morimoto, I really think it comes down to the features. As funny as that sounds, the light output is so similar on these lights. It comes down to the overall look in terms of just the styling of the lights, what you prefer, and the overall features. If you're someone that likes a little bit more of a future forward light, something that has the 5th gen styling, it has the sequential turn signals, it has switchbacks, it has the startup sequence, kind of stuff like that that adds some more features to your truck, then the Alpha Rex is going to be a great choice. If you're someone that doesn't necessarily want all the frills of, like a aftermarket looking light, you want something that just looks factory, super clean, and has the most light output possible, Morimoto is going to be the way to go. I don't actually think that there's a super clear winner here in terms of which light is right, because it really comes down to your personal preference. If we're going off a hard score here, I would say they are both equal in terms of fit and finish. I would say in terms of wiring and installation, I think Morimoto has a slight edge because it's just simpler, but that said, the complexity of the Alpha Rex comes because of the extra features. So if you like those extra features, then the extra complexity of having to have that fuse tap, which has instructions, is well justified. In terms of light output, I think they're both so close and neck. There's really no clear answer, and it actually comes down to whether you like the look of the ultra focused single projector or the look of a slightly more filled in tri-projector. So while I wish I had a definitive answer of which headlight wins overall between these two, I really can't decide. It's gonna come down to your guys' personal preference. So please comment down below which one you think looks better, performs better, and which one you would run on your truck. I think I've made my decision. I really just kind of fell in love with the extra features of the Alpha Rex. Going into this, I was actually kind of more biased towards the Morimoto. I loved how it looked. I loved how simple it looked, but towards the end of the video, after I saw both these headlights in my truck, I saw both of them side by side, I just totally fell in love with how the Alpha Rex looked. So no clear answer there, it just depends on your personal preference, but hopefully this video guys helped you guys out. You'll able to see kind of head to head how all these lights compare, what you're getting for your dollar. And if you have any questions, please comment them down below. I will do my best to answer. Thank you so much. If you want to see more videos like this, hit my channel. I've got a lot more like it.